Financial freedom doesn't start at your bank account. It starts with your habits. And if I'm being completely honest with you, which I am, some of the biggest financial struggles that I've had in my life weren't due to a lack of income. They were simply caused by my own behaviors. But what I realized, our habits can actually be changed. Hi, my name is Clarity Rain. Here we talk about financial freedom, intentional living, and building a life that you don't feel like you need to escape from. If you're ready to build a better life for yourself and your future, let's get started. And today I want to share with you 5 money habits that I believe keep people stuck financially and the small changes that if you incorporate them in your life and be consistent with them, can completely change your financial future. Because financial freedom, it isn't built overnight. It's built through the small decisions repeated consistently over time. Habit number one bad decision can undo years of progress. One of the things that I had to learn the hard way is that financial setbacks rarely happen because of one catastrophic event. More so than not, they happen based off of one emotional decision. More often than not, they happen because of one emotional decision that can change the trajectory of your entire life. Whew, got through it. Now, for many years, I could go to a dealership or contact someone and get approved for financing or a loan or a credit card without a problem. It was never an issue for me. If I wanted a car, I could get a car. If I wanted a loan, I could usually get approved for a loan. And for a long time, I allowed myself to be convinced that that meant that I could afford those things. But what we have to realize is that just because you've been approved for something, it doesn't mean that you are able to afford it. But what you have to realize is that being approved for something and being able to afford it are actually two completely different things. And that's a lesson that I wish a lot of people would have the ability to learn a lot sooner. Because every time that we tell ourselves, I'll figure it out later, or it's not a big deal, or it's no big deal, we are actually borrowing from our future. And eventually, that bill is going to come due. Habit number 2, stop waiting for the big break. Now, this is a habit that held me back for longer than I would like to admit. For years, I thought financial freedom would come with that next opportunity, the promotion, the business idea, and ultimately, that never came. Now, while I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with having a dream and dreaming big, what I've learned is that waiting for the next big thing can impede on your progress. It can keep you from doing the very small things that actually will ultimately lead up to you having that big change in your life. The truth is this: most financial success is not built on one dramatic thing. It's built on the quiet moments. It's built when you decide that you are going to pay down that debt instead of ignoring it. And it's when you decide that you are going to choose to learn something that will ultimately lead to you earning additional income. It's when you decide that you are going to stay consistent even when it feels like nothing is actually happening. I think a lot of people oftentimes get discouraged because we're looking for the immediate results. We want the right now. I planted this seed, so when I come back tomorrow, there's going to be fruit. But that's not how wealth works. And honestly, we know that that's not how life works either. Any and everything worth having takes time. And coming to the realization that the people who ultimately succeed in life aren't always the smartest people in the room. They are most often the people who simply refuse to quit. They started exactly where you are. Habit number 3, stop trying to look like you're wealthy. One of the biggest traps that I notice is that so often people will increase their lifestyle every single time their finances increase. The moment that they make more money, they upgrade everything. New car, new clothes, luxury handbags, fancy vacations, brand new house. And before they even realize it, they're making twice as much money, but still find themselves living paycheck to paycheck. Financial freedom isn't about looking wealthy. It's about actually becoming wealthy. And that's the difference. It's a huge difference. In fact, it's one of the greatest financial skills that you can actually develop. Learning how to make more money without feeling the need to prove it to anyone, especially those around you. Because just because your income grows, it doesn't mean that your lifestyle has to race to compete with it. Because sometimes the smartest thing that you can do is let nobody notice. Allow your investments to notice. Start with increasing your funds in your savings account, investing in real estate, investing in stocks and bonds, and allow your future to take notice first. Habit number 4. Stop avoiding your financial reality. I've realized that a lot of people that I talk to simply avoid looking at their bank account simply because they're afraid to face their reality. They don't want to see it. People do not want to know how much debt they have. In fact, many people find this to be the hardest habit to break because it requires honesty. And sometimes honesty is scary. People who don't have a budget or know what their income is and where it's going, they feel as though that budgeting makes them restricted. But the reality is this: you cannot improve what you are unwilling to measure. Imagine getting in your car to drive somewhere with having no idea as to where you currently are. It just simply doesn't work. And the same is true for money. You have to know where you stand before you can create the plan. Got that? Know where you stand before you create the plan. So that then you are in turn able to know where you are going. That means asking the questions: how much money is coming in every month? How much money is going out? How much debt do I actually have? How much savings do I have? And ultimately, how much money does it take for me to actually live? When you decide that you are going to stop guessing and actually know, that's when things will actually change for you. Because when you avoid your financial reality, you're giving away your power to change it. But when you actually face it, even if the numbers aren't where you want them to be, something amazing starts to happen. You gain clarity. And with that clarity, you create confidence. Because what you have to realize is that financial freedom does not begin when your bank account reaches a certain number. It begins the moment that you stop running from the truth and start taking responsibility of your future. You do not have to have perfect finances. To be honest with you, nobody feels like their finances are perfect, but you do need to know where you are. And that leads me to the final habit. The last one, but certainly not the least. Buying feelings instead of building assets. Because most of us haven't just bought things. More than likely, we've bought our feelings. And what I mean by that is that we will go out and we buy comfort, excitement, validation, things that make us feel good or happy, excited in that moment. But then over time, one way or another, once it's in our home, it no longer provides that temporary of happiness that we were once seeking. And oftentimes, after a while, you are going to look around your house and realize that you spend hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars on things that really don't matter and never mattered if you're honest with yourself. Because once the excitement fades, the feeling disappeared, but yet your money is still gone. So instead, what I do nowadays is this. I ask myself a different question. Will this create a memory, an asset, or provide a better future for me and my family? Because what I started to do now is not just think about today. I'm thinking about my future, and not only my future, but my children and what I am going to leave behind for them and their future children. I'm thinking about building something that lasts way longer than I ever will. And that to me means that financial freedom isn't just about having enough money for myself. It's about creating options and opportunities for generations to come way after me. So again, that starts when you stop spending money to feel better and start using your money to build and actually create something meaningful and rewarding for your future. Since I've been able to identify those habits, I've become someone who is actively still learning, growing, rebuilding, and becoming more intentional every single day. I am certainly not someone who has mastered money. I am the one who wants to learn more, to do more, and I do not claim to know everything. But what I do know and what I have realized is this. The small decisions matter. The decision to invest instead of trying to impress someone. Or simply put, the decision to face your financial reality. Because the decision that you make Once you decide that you are going to stop waiting for the perfect opportunity and actually start, those decisions, the very small decisions, when you repeat them over time consistently, they will completely change your life and your financial future. And that is what financial freedom is about. It's not about the one big break, it's not about luck. It's knowing that those small habits will ultimately bring me to the financial freedom and build and create the financial future of wealth that I desire, just like everyone else. If you enjoyed this video, and I hope so since you're still here, please subscribe, like, and I hope to see you in the next one.